Our Crowd is an organization that was established to try and further boost Israel's efforts as a venture capital hub, as well as an investment opportunity for foreign companies. The group recently announced that it has secured over $12 million in funding for the platform and companies involved in the project. Joining me now is founder and CEO Jon Medved. Jonathan, welcome to South Africa. Thank you so much for coming through.
It's wonderful to be here. I'm really enjoying myself.
I'm glad you are enjoying yourself, and hopefully you'll stay longer. But let's talk about that visit to South Africa, into South Africa. What's drawn you to this part of the world?
Well, we're building a worldwide community of investors who are looking for innovation and investments in early stage technology startups. We're headquartered in Israel, which has become probably the world's second major hub for innovation after Silicon Valley. What we're doing is building a platform on the internet, would you believe, to let people hook up to these investments directly. Until now, if you were an investor in South Africa and you wanted to play in the technology area, you could find some things here locally. You could go to New York and buy stocks. But if you wanted to actually invest in an early stage startup, get into a company like a Facebook or a Twitter in their infancy, good luck to you. If you didn't have those proper connections, you were left out. But now what we're doing is taking the best deals we can find in Israel, which is a source of tremendous technology, and we're making these deals available on the internet to the average investor, accredited investors, people who have some money and who are prepared for the real risk of early stage technology investing, and they can then choose their own companies, build their own portfolio, and take part in growing this great technology story.
So are you just focused on the ICT sector, or are there other parts of the sort of industries that you're looking into?
We're looking at technology in the broad sense.
Okay.
So we're dealing with medical technology, with agricultural technology, with clean tech, with semiconductors, with materials, chemicals. There's a huge world of innovation out there. People think mistakenly that it's all been done already, right? That Google's done and Apple's done and Facebook is done. What's next?
Exactly.
But the answer here is that the pace of innovation is only increasing. The world's economy is being driven by innovation. And I think that the opportunities here in Africa, by the way, in terms of not only sourcing great ideas, I think Africa is leading the world today in mobile money transfers, and there's all kinds of just interesting ideas. Until now, most of these companies have been built to solve problems for rich countries. They're basically very focused around Silicon Valley, and even the companies from Israel, by and large, have been looking to solve those kinds of problems. I think the next wave of really interesting companies are to be solving the problems for the rest of the billions of people in the world, like in Africa. And I think those opportunities are great, and that's why I'm here, to not only hook up with investors who are looking at Israel's great opportunities, but also to source deals and to meet with entrepreneurs and to find a way that we can bring our crowd to Africa as well.
Very interesting. Now I want to talk about our crowd, and we'll get to that. But I think let's talk about the industry that you operate in, which is equity crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the benefits of crowdfunding to investors and to companies?
So crowdfunding promises the frictionless world of the World Wide Web. Today, making a private investment is a nightmare. There's tons of paperwork, and there's diligence, and there's who's going to lead, and if you try to get angels together to make an investment, it's really not a trivial process. We've done all that work for you. What we do is we have like a venture capital front end where we select deals, we do the diligence, we negotiate a term sheet, and then we bring it via the web to investors around the world. So all of a sudden you can be sitting here in Johannesburg and you can invest in a startup in Tel Aviv or in London or in Moscow. And it's a one world, but the web is what we use, and that vehicle of crowdfunding to make it work and make it work easily.
So presumably you are the ones that are bridging the gap between your angels and your VCs.
That's correct. We're called a hybrid crowdfunding VC.
Okay.
We use the web like a crowdfunder, and it's democratic, and we let anybody join who meets their accreditation criteria. But on the other hand, we have the front end of a venture capital firm, where we're not allowing companies to come to our site and just list. In other words, we do a very thorough vetting and selection process. We're investing in just a handful of the hundreds of companies that are coming to us asking for funding. But it's not just about the funding, because that's only the first part that what a company needs. A company needs support. They need a board member. They need introduction to strategic partners. They need introductions to the press. They need a key hire. And so we're going to not only be providing that from our management team, we've got a great team of 20 professionals working at our crowd, but we're going to harness the power of the crowd. So imagine today we're close to 1,000 members, accredited investors. We hope to be 5,000 or 10,000 by the end of the year, and on the web, the sky's the limit. If you can harness that power of thousands and thousands of worldwide accredited investors, people of means with their own connections, on behalf of a little startup, opening up a new distribution area, making a key strategic introduction. This is huge, and no one's done that before.
Yeah. Typically, how much would investors be required to invest per deal, when investing in those startups?
The minimum is $10,000 per deal. And we urge people not to do a single deal. If you want to go pick one company, don't come to our crowd. Because the problem with this kind of investment is it's inherently risky. These are early stage companies. A lot of them die, and you lose your money. But when they win and they make money, you make lots of money, God willing.
And a lot of the startups, I do have to add that, that's the big issue. And you were speaking earlier that funding is not really the real issue here for a lot of startups. And a lot of them have failed, especially in South Africa. I think 2011, 2012, we had about 400,000 startups just close because they're failing to start.
Well, see, companies need lots of support. They don't need just money. And they need, by the way, money at different stages of their existence. Today, there's a lot of seed money and early stage money. Then the company grows up and needs Series A and Series B, and they can't find it. So actually, we're focusing at our crowd on those little bit later stages, on Series A and Series B. So the first money is going in from an angel or from a friend and family investor, and we're following that. And we're typically investing as part of a syndicate. We don't like to be by ourselves. We like to invest alongside other venture capitalists or other well-known angels, because you need a group. You need to push these companies forward. But it's, again, money is critical, but it's not the whole story. If the company doesn't execute on its strategy, doesn't have a proper board, people who are really helping the company figure out where to go, people who are helping to hire key people in marketing and development and operations, and making the company accessible to the world of the press or finding a new distributor. And these are the things that we hope to not only provide from our own management team, but to source from the crowd around the world.
But how do you know that this is the right company to go for? I mean, surely.
You never know.
So it's definitely risky business.
Yeah, it's totally. My wife was involved in making that movie called Risky Business. So
okay, great.
I know that this is indeed a risky business.
Yeah.
But it's not a laughing matter. Look, the reality is it starts with risk. And people ask, why has Israel got so many startups? And the answer is because we live with risk in Israel. We're a country where we're under the threat of extinction. There are enemies of our country who say we have no right to exist, want to wipe us off the map. And that's a scary thing. That's real risk. The risk of starting a company and failing, sorry, doesn't worry me. That's part of life. Failure is a normal part of the process. You could be an entrepreneur and fail, and then the second time you succeed. Actually, your chances to succeed that second time are much greater than the first timer who's never tried it before. So we accept risk. We understand that when you invest in startups, you've got to do a portfolio. You can't just invest in one. You've got to invest in 5, 6, 10. I'm actually putting my money into every single company that goes up on our crowd because I want this huge portfolio. We hope to do 40 or 50 companies a year. And we would love for investors here in South Africa to take a look at our crowd. And if they find any of these investments interesting, join us, and we look forward to working with you.
Fantastic. At that point, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
All right, then that was Jonathan Medved, and he's the founder and CEO of Our Crowd.